We've all had moments that make our skin crawl. A sound outside when you're alone, a stranger who seems a little too curious, or that feeling that someone is watching you. Today, I'm going to share 3 real stories. Stories that still keep me up at night. Get comfortable, turn off the lights if you dare, and let's begin. This happened when I was about 13 years old. It was one of the first times my parents had left me home alone. I was excited. I had the whole house to myself, so I did what any kid would do. I ordered pizza. About 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, something felt off. The delivery guy wasn't wearing a uniform, and his car didn't even have a pizza sign on top. He just handed me the box, stared at me for a second too long, and said, "Are you home alone?" I froze. My parents had told me never to say yes, so I lied. I said my dad was in the shower. The man smirked, said, "Good," and walked back to his car slowly, watching the house the whole time. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Around 11 p.m., there was a knock at the door. I peeked through the peephole. It wasn't the pizza guy. It was a different man, wearing a baseball cap, saying his car broke down and asking to use the phone. Every instinct in me screamed, "No." I shouted that I was calling the police. He went silent. Minutes later, I heard the sound of the back door handle jiggling. Then, slow footsteps in the kitchen. He was inside the house. I ran to my room, locked the door, hid in the closet, and whispered to 911. I heard him trying every door, getting closer and closer. And then, silence. The next sound I heard was police shouting downstairs. The man had broken in, but he was caught. The scariest part? The police asked me if I'd ordered food earlier that night. They said the man had gotten my address from someone, and my gut tells me it was that delivery driver. Fast forward a few years. My girlfriend and I were living in a small house in the woods in Idaho. It was quiet, peaceful, until one night when it wasn't. We were watching a movie when my dog suddenly started growling at the basement door. I grabbed a flashlight and looked outside, and that's when I saw him. There was a man standing by the tree line, holding something shiny in his hand, a knife. He wasn't moving, just staring at the house, smiling. We locked every window, turned off every light, and called the sheriff. But by the time anyone showed up, he was gone. The next morning, we found footprints circling the entire house. He had been looking through every single window. Over the next few nights, it kept happening. Always at night, always at a different window. Sometimes I'd wake up and hear soft tapping on the glass. One night, I had enough. I grabbed my shotgun, turned on the porch light, and stepped outside. The man was standing just a few yards away. I fired a warning shot into the air. My dog lunged toward him, barking like crazy. He finally ran. We never saw him again, but for months after, I swore I could still feel eyes on me whenever I stepped outside. Last year, my friends and I rented a cheap cabin for spring break. The ad online said it was quiet, private, and surrounded by nature. Perfect, right? Well, maybe too perfect. When we arrived, the GPS had already lost signal miles back, and the cabin looked abandoned. Windows dusty, weeds overgrown. Inside, everything was old, like it hadn't been touched in decades. That first night, we kept hearing noises outside. Sticks snapping, slow footsteps. We joked about it until someone actually knocked on the door. It was past midnight. No car outside, no cell signal. Just a man's voice saying, "You're not supposed to be here." We didn't open the door. We grabbed whatever we could find, knives, heavy flashlights, and stayed up all night. By morning, he was gone, but we found fresh boot prints in the mud leading from the woods straight to the front door. And then, more footprints leading around the cabin. We left that morning without even asking for a refund. None of us have ever been back. If you've ever had a scary encounter like this, share it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay safe out there, because you never know who might be watching.